Do you like fantasy football and sports betting? Come join us here at the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast, where hosts Matt, Shane, and Jason talk about fantasy players, lineups, and sports betting to help you compete and win championships. And of course, some extra cash. Let's jump right into the show.
Welcome back to the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. It is great to be back. This is Shane, your boy, and I'm here with Jason. Jason, how you doing?
Doing well. Glad to see you. We're a man down today, though.
Yeah, down but not out. Matt came down with the VID, and you, not something that's fun. So we're holding it down without him though. But just saying, we still got this. So we will run through all of the games. We'll give you all the news, all the notes, and of course do our hot and not. Definitely go check that out. Let me just add, Jason, before we get into the nitty gritty, if you are not following yet, this is your chance to do so. Please hit the like, subscribe, follow, hit the bell if you're on YouTube, hit it all. Hit everything. Just all the bells and whistles, ding it all. Shout out to Fantasy Six Pack for being our partner in this and having us use their platform. If you guys haven't headed over to the fantasy6pack.net website and checked it out yet, you're missing out. That's it. That's all I got. You're missing out. There's a ton of info. Go peruse the website for 15 minutes. And if you find something you like, use code Parlay FF to get 15% off for the whole thing. And then, the podcast is everywhere. So go listen to it if you want to, or go check us out on YouTube over at Fantasy Six Pack's YouTube channel. Other than that, I think that's the housekeeping we got, Jason. So I'm going to ask you a different question. We're going to start this off just a little weird.
Okay.
What is your favorite matchup of the week?
Oh, it's easy. I was like, do we even have to dive deep into this? It was like, hey, the Texans-Chiefs game. Favorite matchup of the week.
Okay, that's fair. I was a little partial to that one, so I wasn't going to say that one. But I do like that.
I will go there.
I'm going to say the Broncos-Chargers on Thursday is my favorite because of the playoff implications that game holds for all of the games later in the slate. I think that is going to be such an interesting game. So, there you go. Tell us what your favorites are in the comments below. Just, send us.
Little quick non-biased note, if I am looking at the scheduled games of the slate, the Eagles-Commanders rematch could be a good one as well, depending just based on how the two teams are playing right now. I know the first game was a little bit sloppy, a little defensive battle, but I feel like the second game, the rematch could be a hell of a lot better game and higher scoring.
Oh, yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, there's quite a few games on this slate that are very interesting, and I don't know which one I want to dub game of the week, but we're going to go through that. And I promise I will give you at least one game of the week. Maybe two. I don't know. Depends on how we're feeling. Without further ado, though, Jason, I think it's time for the news.
It's time for news and notes.
Look, if you are in the fantasy football playoffs, congratulations. If you have one of the 13 players that got injured this week, I'm so sorry. But hey, you made it, and it means you can make fun of your league mates as much as you want because you made it and they didn't. Anyways, Nick Chubb out for likely the season with a broken bone in his foot. Alvin Kamara pulled a hamstring, and that means that for both of those players, that means that Jerome Ford is the automatic step in for Nick Chubb, and Kendre Miller, depending on the severity of Kamara's injury, is the fill-in over Kamara. Speaking of fill-ins, Michael Penix, come on down, buddy. You are officially the starter in Atlanta. It is Hotlanta night, and Penix is the star on the rise, apparently. So, that was a gross window.
Yeah, a little surprised in that move versus the Giants, Shane.
Yeah. I was more thinking about how gross that innuendo sounded in my head after I said it. But yes, I do think it's a good spot for him to get his first start. Like the
Yeah,
Giants.
I thought they would have given Kurt Cobain's another chance to get right, especially versus the Giants. But I mean, if you're gonna make the move, you're gonna make it earlier in the week so he can change up his preparation.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Falcons offense looks better for everybody involved. Because it's definitely hurting fantasy. Speaking of fantasy, I don't know if you rushed out to pick out Sincere McCormick last week during waiver wires, but unfortunately, he's out for the season as well. So Alexander Madison, come on down, buddy. You are officially the starting running back. Amir Abdullah also got work. He scored the only touchdown for the Raiders. He's the passing down guy, but I mean, it's the Raiders. Like, do you really want to play any of these guys? If you're in the playoffs, you're probably not playing one of these guys, but if you have to, I would lean towards Madison. Jalen Waddle, questionable to play this week. And Malik Washington, just stepping in and saying, Waddle, I can do your job better than you. And it was a performance. Malik Washington definitely on radars and should probably be added in a couple of leagues. Zach Ertz, that weird guy that's constantly either tight end 5 or tight end 22. Yeah, he has a concussion. So it's been Senate for the Washington Commanders against the Philadelphia Eagles. Proceed with caution there. Patrick Mahomes practiced, quote, in full on Tuesday. So don't know that he'll play in the game against the Texans, but, he practiced in the first available practice. That's a big indication that there's a chance. Geno Smith expected to practice as well. He is questionable to play for this week. So if you're banking on Geno or Patrick, I'm sorry. You can probably attempt to find better options. I don't know what your waiver wire looks like, but a quarterback's in an abysmal position right now to be searching for. Speaking of quarterbacks, Tommy DeVito gets concussed, and the Giants have now turned to their 5th quarterback, Tim Boyle, who had 1 touchdown pass at UConn. He won 4 college games. He's never won an NFL game. Yeah, that's the news. That's it. That's all we got for the news. It's very dreary. It's unfortunate that we had all these injuries. And I didn't even mention one of the biggest ones, and that's that David Montgomery is out for the season with the was it MCL tear?
Yeah,
sprain?
knee. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
knee
it was
injury.
Yeah.
So Jahmyr Gibbs is looking like maybe a league winner for you right now. If you drafted Gibbs, you're feeling really nice. If you had Montgomery,
Who is that backup in that's stepping in?
Craig Reynolds. I'm glad you asked, Jason. Craig Reynolds, when Monty did not play last year, stepped in to the Monty role and filled in a big way. So again, if you're playing in like a deep league,
That might be a great pickup.
Reynolds could be a guy that you can play. And he'll get some touches. He's not a bad back. So yeah, no diss on Craig Reynolds. I think that wraps up our news though. Jay, you got anything else?
No, you nailed it.
Alrighty. Well, we'll just go straight into my favorite segment, and that's Fire and Ice. All right. So, Jason, we got some fire going on here. Let's start with the easy one. We're gonna start with Kyler Murray facing the Carolina Panthers. Look, this is a get right spot for the Panthers, or for the Cardinals versus the Panthers. Kyler needs something to break his way. The Cardinals are just clawing their way still into the playoff picture at 11%. Kyler's gonna have to show out in a big way, and I am dubbing this the duel for the shortest Heisman. So hopefully he outduels Bryce Young and puts up some fantasy points for everybody, and maybe gives some love to Marvin Harrison so that we can all feel a little bit better about why we drafted him. You're a hot running back for the week. We discussed him just a bit earlier in the news notes. It's Jerome Ford. They're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, and one thing that Jerome Ford excels at is catching the ball, Jason. I think that we can project Jerome Ford to have at least 4 receptions, and I would project at least 25 yards receiving. So
And this is a good spot for him versus that high-powered Bengals team, to where I think they're going to try to keep the ball out of the Bengals' hands and whatnot. So, I mean, even if they get down, don't sweat it because, like you said, he is a good pass-catching back.
Yeah, and he's also just a good running back. We saw it against the Chiefs, who have a fantastic run defense. He popped off a couple of big runs and a couple of nice receptions. So it is DTR starting for the Browns. So Jameis has been officially benched. That changes things on the pass catching front for the receivers who have to go down the field. Well, I think that helps the guys who are closer to the line. Maybe Elijah Moore, maybe Chase Brown. But we'll get into that when we do the the whole rundown. So Jerome Ford is your hot RB of the week. Your hot wide receiver. He's on fire. Just not recently. Darnell Mooney put up a goose egg last week. I'm expecting a big bounce back here with the Penix in town. And I'm going to call him Moonshot Mooney. Look, Michael Penix excels at throwing balls to the sideline. That was his trademark thing all the way through college. All the way through the draft process, he throws a beautiful sideline ball. Who benefits the most from that? Drake London, Darnell Mooney. Those two guys are the alphas that play on the outside. It's not going to be Ray Ray. It's not going to be Kyle Pitts, who run the intermediate routes down the middle of the field. No, it's going to be the guys that play along the boundary. And so I'm firing up Mooney with confidence this week and willing to risk it for the biscuit with Penix back there at QB. And your tight end, look, the tight end landscape is the bleakest of bleaks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But the one we've picked is Cade Otton. Look, the Buccaneers played the Cowboys. It's a little spicy because there's a chance that Otton's forced to block or chip more than we would want our fire tight end to do. However, I think that this is also an opportunity for the Buccaneers to take advantage of maybe some pressure the Cowboys generate and Otton to get some of those dump offs, take advantage of the weaker zone underneath the Cowboys defense. So those are your fire picks of the week. Now for your knots. We're going to call this category Not Again. And it's because we're not falling for a false narrative with these players. Look, not quarterback. Jaden Daniels. The guy put up 14 points against the Eagles last time they played, Jason. Do you want a quarterback scoring 14 points for you in the playoffs? No, I don't. I don't want to test that. I think that the loss of their center is a pretty big deal. I think the loss of Zach Ertz is a pretty big deal. I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out. If I have another alternative to Jaden Daniels, I'm probably looking into it this week. Not running back is Rico Dowdle. He's had an emergence, an absolute fire starter over the last 3 weeks, but he's playing a Buccaneers defense that's incredibly good against the run and incredibly good against the check down short pass. So I don't really want to see him get trucked by Lavonte David when he's playing for my fantasy team in the playoffs. I don't. I'm calling out sick on playing Rico Dowdle. You probably have other alternatives, so probably turn to them. And this one's a pair. So this one's Scary Terry is your not wide receiver. Scary Terry, when they played Philadelphia, had 1.4 points. He had 1 catch, 2 targets for 10 yards. Darius Slay is playing. Definitely don't want that. It's going to be hard to convince yourself to bench Scary, but if you have alternatives, again, I would lean towards the alternatives because look, it's the same. It's the same game. Like nothing's changed. These teams are the exact same that they were, or worse than they were. Like it's not. It's just don't overthink it. What you've seen is the truth at this point in the season. So I don't love Scary this week. And last but not least, we could have iced like 30 different tight ends. But the one we chose is Pat Freiermuth. They're playing the Ravens, And his performance against the Ravens earlier this year was 4 points. So honestly, dart throw anybody. Dart throw Brenton Strange. You may get a better production than what you would expect to get out of Pat Fryermuth in this game. Also, George Pickens may be back, which means that the volume that Pat has seen recently, I think, just completely goes away because the Steelers are just not a good team without George Pickens. That's it. So that is the fire and ice, Jason. Got any news? Got any notes on my thoughts there?
No, I agree with that. Me and you talked a little bit before the podcast, and it's like we know that these are mainly in division games that are happening this week and or playoff implication games to where the guys that we are icing, we've seen it. They know how to game plan for some of these guys. Don't overthink it. Yes, Scary Terry did have a phenomenal game last week. So did Jaden Daniels, but we saw what that matchup looked like the first time, and the Eagles are the real deal. Then going with Rico Dowdle and whatnot, Cowboys don't play well at home. That's just plain and simple. It's one of those things where it's like once they step foot in Jerry's world, they forget how to play football. So it's difficult, and we know yet you might have to play these guys, but just be cautious.
Don't say we didn't warn you.
Yeah.
Is the line we will stand by for
Right.
the not list. And we've been pretty good on that this year. Just saying. Just saying. All right, Jason. You're ready to get straight into it. Let's just get right down into the business.
Let's dive deep.
Broncos versus Chargers is the Thursday night game found on Amazon Prime. Listen. I am starting the regulars, and I am starting Kamani Badal.
Are we staying away from the Broncos running back still?
Funny enough, Jaleel McLaughlin got injured this week.
Okay.
So I would monitor Jaleel if you're trying to play one of those guys, but Javonte would probably be the guy I'm leaning towards. The Chargers have a very good defense, though, so I'm not rushing to go add one of these guys if they're on the waiver or anything like that. So, yeah, I think that your biggest play, though, would be Chargers receivers if Pat Surtain is out. I think that that is the biggest news for this matchup is the health of Pat Surtain. He twisted his ankle in the fourth quarter, sprained his ankle in the fourth quarter of their game. So keep an eye on that because if he plays, it definitely hampers the ability for those Chargers playmakers. But if he doesn't, Lad McConkey could eat. And eat in a big way.
Quentin Johnson, we firing him up?
He hit last week.
I know.
With his trend, I'm going to say
he plays well being a complementary piece to Lad.
Yes, I agree. When the focus isn't on Quentin Johnston, he seems to be a good wide receiver.
He seems to catch the football.
Yeah. There's no pressure. He's fine. Yeah, I think you can fire him up again with the asterisk of if Pat Surtain's not playing.
Right. Agreed.
You got anything else on those? I think Kamani is probably the one of the guys that's near the end of waiver lists that I feel like I would be pretty confident in playing because I think that if the Chargers are going to try to win this game, he's the piece that's going to have to do stuff because Gus Edwards just he just don't got the juice. He's not bolted up. He's just not bolted up, Now, for Jason's game of the week, we got the Texans versus the Chiefs in Kansas City on Saturday.
We know the Mixon news, right? That he might not play.
Yes, it's in the rumor mill that Joe Mixon may not play. Patrick Mahomes may not play. If either of those pieces are out, how do you feel, Jason?
I mean, you're firing up the regulars regardless. The question is, do you fire up the backup running back for the Texans?
Would that be Dameon Pierce in this instance?
It would be Dameon Pierce. I don't know if you do based on the Chiefs' run defense.
Yeah. I agree with your sentiment. I do think that he could be a decent ad.
Yeah, I mean,
But they play the Ravens next week too, so like even then you're not looking at great matchups either way.
I'm firing up Tank Dell.
Yeah, I think Nico and Tank could have big games, and I honestly think that Dalton Schultz is addable. Again, he's playing the Chiefs, so like again, I'll just harp on the fact that Chiefs suck at covering tight ends, but also he plays the Ravens next week, and they aren't good at covering tight ends either. So the combo is nice, and if they're without, he's the only tight end left on your roster.
Yeah.
Cade Stover went on the IR. Quentin Tarantino's on the IR. Like every game the Texans had,
And he got in the end
is
zone
hurt.
last week.
Yeah. I think there's a real shot that Dalton Schultz is a pretty okay tight end for the foreseeable future here. So you're starting up the regulars and maybe Dalton Schultz and maybe Damian Pierce if you have to. But damn, this matchup. Options. Yeah, this matchup is not near as sexy without those two pieces.
Right. Agreed. It might be a defensive battle all game.
Yeah, it could be a slugfest. Speaking of slugfests, how about the game that kicks off right after that? That's the Steelers versus Ravens in Baltimore. Jason, the total of let me go back. The total of Broncos game, Chargers game is 42.5. Texans Chiefs is 41.5, and the Steelers Ravens is rising. It is at 44.5. Okay. I think that there could be some sparks here, especially if Pickens comes back. I think that's the biggest hiccup with the Steelers right now is the lack of threat that they have without Pickens. So I think that it really depends on his health on where this game ends up going directionally.
Yeah, and the Steelers do know how to play Lamar Jackson in this game, to where kind of sucks for fantasy owners in this game because Lamar tends to struggle versus the Steelers in that pass rush. So TJ Watt's looking at another Defensive Player of the Year award right now. It's the Zay Flowers, Bateman goes off last week, and it's like, what am I even supposed to do with these receivers in Baltimore, to where Mark Andrews is going to show up each and every week, and he had a slow start to the season, but he's picked it back up. So it's like, if you own Zay Flowers, you have to play him. But the big question is, do I start Rashad Bateman? I don't think you do this week.
Yeah, I concur. I don't think that Bateman's a play. I think the Zay Flowers, you drafted him to be the boom bust wide receiver 2 anyways. You're playing him and hoping that there's a boom bust.
And I do like Justice Hill this week, honestly. If there is a big pass rush, and which we are guessing there probably will be, dump off passes.
The big news is that TJ Watt may not play in this game.
Oh, okay.
He's spraining an ankle.
They still get there.
They do.
For some reason, they find a way.
But yeah, they still have guys. But he rolled his ankles. X-rays were negative. But there's a chance that he doesn't play in what's a marquee matchup. I don't know, man. I think that you start up the Ravens guys and you feel pretty comfortable with it. And if there's no George Pickens, I don't really want to touch the Steelers with a 10-foot pole.
No, and I think they just load the box against Russ.
Yeah. Say beat us with the pass to one of the 5'6" guys you have on your roster.
Yeah.
Which is just such an interesting way to build a team. The Browns and Bengals, Jason, that is a noon kickoff on Sunday. Finally, we're at the Sunday slate. So weird that we have 3 days of games. Well, 4 days of games this week. Yeah, it's great.
Time of the year.
Yeah, my wife will not concur with your statement, but yeah, I do. I like it. We have 5 games. We have 5 days with games next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what a amazing time of year it is.
Then Christmas is even next week with Christmas.
That's next week will be Christmas. Yeah, the 5 games. Yeah, the 5-game week. Yeah. So, anyways, without further ado, Browns Bengals. We have you're starting everybody on the Bengals. You're starting Jerome Ford for the Browns, and
Njoku.
If Njoku's healthy, I'd start Njoku with confidence. I don't know how to assess DTR. He has had ups and downs when he's played. But the Bengals defense is so poor that I think that you can still fire up some of the wide receivers for the Browns and like hope. Like
I think
that's
the
it.
only one that I feel confident in is Judy, to be completely honest.
Well, I actually think Elijah Moore makes more sense to me because
Okay. Mm-hmm.
he doesn't like Judy plays a lot of the downfield stuff. If Cedric Tillman's back, that'll help Elijah as well. But yeah, I think that the guys that are on those shorter routes, those more consistent timing routes, I think probably benefit more. But Judy is still the alpha. I agree with you. So I think Judy's the one you start with the most confidence out of the wide receivers. But I think Moore has the highest ceiling available of them for this matchup. With the next one, we got the Rams at the Jets. Oh, the over under for the Browns Bengals game is 47. Wow. And then the over under for the Rams Jets game is 46.5. So they're expecting some fireworks. We saw Devontae Adams put up 198 yards and a touchdown last week.
Yeah, I think he scored 2.
Did he score 2? I don't know.
He had 40 something. He had a ridiculous stat line. Great week to start Devontae on your fantasy team.
Oh yeah, he did have 2 touchdowns. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah. 12 targets, 9 catches, 2 touchdowns, 198 yards. What a day at the office. And speaking of days at the office, Cooper Kupp just decided to run wind sprints. That's what we'll call that. He logged a lot of cardio.
To his credit, it was bad weather in that game, but at the same time, only getting 2 targets is just piss poor.
I mean, yeah, he's Cooper Kupp. Like, come on now. I think that we're in for better weather in this game. It is supposed to be 25 degrees and 0 rain in East Rutherford. So
is Breece Hall starting?
I haven't heard any news that he is not.
Okay. I know there was talks and shutting him down.
Yeah, and Braylon Allen also is banged up, so it would be Isaiah Davis if that's the case, Jason. Do you like Isaiah Davis versus this Rams defense? Or Breece Hall, whichever one.
Yes. Honestly, because I mean, the Jets get off to a slow start regardless, and I think that for some reason that they just try to pound the ball early in the game, and then it's crazy how backwards that is, and no wonder why they are not doing well. But if they do change it up, maybe they'll figure it out. You see what happened in the second half with Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers again. It looked like the old Green Bay Packers. So maybe they'll change it up, get a feel of the game and how it's going. Then they can kind of reverse the script, and hopefully whoever's playing running back does well.
Yeah, I think that's a good train of thought. I will say the Rams, the Jets gave up 400 yards for back-to-back games on their defense, and Sauce Gardner is out. So
yeah,
I think
you fire everybody up.
Yeah, you're starting anybody on the Rams with a pulse, and you're starting, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, and maybe a running back.
Had a week. Mac Jones had a week.
Mac Jones put up 400 yards on the Jets. That's just let that sink in.
Yeah.
Without Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
And Christian Kirk. Oh wow, that's just These are the days.
It gets worse.
These are the days we're in. I love fantasy. It's great. Anyways, the Eagles and Commanders, again, for some reason, this game is buried in the noon slate. It does not make sense. This is such a great game, and for some reason, it's buried. Wait, did this game get flexed? I thought one of them got flexed.
I don't know the answer.
I'll have to look into that. But yeah, so Eagles versus Commanders. You got anybody that you want to call out specifically?
Whoever's starting for Zach Ertz, maybe?
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, y'all heard what we talked about earlier with the Commanders. It's one of those things where they know how to game plan. The Eagles are good defensively. They're Shane, you told me that the Commander center is out, so I think why am I blanking on his name? Carter will have a great game, and there's just going to be a lot of pass rush in Jaden Daniels' face. Do we know any word on AJ Brown and his injury with the high ankle sprain?
Nothing substantial has come back yet.
Yeah.
He after the game was talking to reporters and said he will be good to go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which I mean is player talk for I'm playing, but also he doesn't get the ultimate call at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a slugfest on the ground. This is going to be a ground game.
Yeah, I think Kenneth Gainwell is the name to call out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about the only out of ordinary guy I would consider playing from this matchup. Everybody else, you're firing up the guys you're firing up, and we already talked about how we don't. Yeah, we talked about how we don't like Shaden and we don't like Scary Terry this week, but like, you got to do what you got to do. It's the playoffs. You only have the guys you got. You can't trade anymore. So you do you, boo boo. And speaking of that, let's go to the official you do you, boo boo partners, and that's the Cardinals and the Panthers. They play in Carolina, as I dubbed the battle for the tiniest Heisman. Look, you're starting James Conner, and you're feeling really good about it. And you're starting
McBride,
and you're feeling really good about it. Do you feel good about starting Marvin Harrison?
No, but your draft capital on him, you kind of have to. And I don't know if you made playoffs drafting him that high.
That's fair. That's a good point. Yeah.
To be completely honest, I love Thielen.
Yeah, I love Thielen. Cardinals have been okay against the pass, but much better against the run than the pass.
You still got to fire up Chuba.
Yeah, I think it's a cokehead day. I think that Jalen Coker could go absolutely bonkers against this team. You are starting Chuba if you got him. Even though it's not the most favorable matchup, at least it's going to be close, and he's also the only running back with a pulse in that offense. So I think that he's just going to be the benefactor of all of it. No one out of the ordinary would be aside from like Jalen. Like I think Jalen Coker is like he should be rostered. And if you need a dart throw, that's a dart I'd be willing to throw, and you're more than likely close to bullseye. This next game is a travesty. Please tell me if you want to skip this one. It's the Titans versus the Colts. I also didn't touch. Will Levis is benched. Yeah, I didn't touch on the over-unders, by the way. Let me go back just for housekeeping reasons. Mm-hmm. Eagles, Commanders, 45.5. Cardinals, Panthers, 47. That's a high total. That's the tied for the third highest total in the week. So that's interesting. But yeah, Colts Titans total is 42.5. Oh man, Jonathan Taylor probably cost almost everybody their playoffs if you made it. Jason made it through even despite JT dropping the ball at the end zone, which is shocking to me. But anyways, out
of everybody who would do that, like there's two that happened over the week. I can understand the defensive player doing that. It still bewilders me that somebody would even do that. But out of everybody,
reach the ball out.
Yeah. Well, out of everybody, it's like JT, you should know better.
Yeah. What happened to the old school, like hand out, ball out, like hand behind the head, taunt? Like, can we go back to that? Because that's much more likely that you score at least. I don't care if you get the penalty, but you're at least scoring the touchdown. Like, carry it to the back of the end zone, hit your head on the post. That's the key.
We don't have to talk much about this game. Shane.
Yeah, no, this game's abysmal. I will say Titans and Colts defenses are both in play. If you need a streaming defense, I would fire up both of them. As far as players that I would like to play on either of these teams, Tajay Spears would be the only guy I would mention that like would probably be available or would be like a borderline guy on your bench. I would say that Tajay is a pretty good option, especially if Tony Pollard truly is dealing with that hurt ankle. Other than that, there's no one else of notable mention. Lions Bears. We saw Caleb
get wrecked.
We saw Caleb look like Justin Fields last week. Like he has for most of the second half of the season. I expect him to look better against this Lions defense that's so hurt that they're going to have to start playing guys in wheelchairs. So I think that there's a better chance that the Bears players perform than average. So I'd say you could fire up some of your Bears assets if you're feeling spicy. Because the over-under of this game is 47.5, Jason. 48 in some places. So it's creeping upwards. I think that the main takeaway for me is the Lions have a very funneled offense, and it just got more tightly funneled with the loss of Montgomery. So I think that there's a chance, and I say it very ever so slightly, that they have to rely on an ancillary piece like Tim Patrick more going forward. And the Bears would be a situation that you can definitely do that against, just due to how poorly their secondary has played since like week 10 on. So I think that that's something to note, but I don't know if I'm trying to roll that out in the playoffs. So, yeah, other than that, I think you're starting the guys are going to start from either of these teams, and you're feeling okay about it. Like, I think that you could feel excited if you're a Lions guy. I feel like if you have some Bears guys, I feel like you can feel pretty excited about, DJ Moore and Keenan and even Rome. Just a guy not named Cole Kmet is the guy you should be excited about. Now for the game that has gone all sorts of topsy-turvy. The Giants versus Falcons, Jason. This is the last game of the noon slate on Sunday. Wow. Let me just say, wow. Penix news dropping on like Tuesday night is just wild. It's insane. But I will say that I think that there's a good chance that the Falcons offense as a whole is better with Penix under the helm rather than what Kirk Cousins has been since week 9.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you touched on it earlier. He's a good sideline thrower of the football. The receivers, Mooney and London could have a big day. Pitts, pray. You know what you're going to get out of Bijan, and Tyler Algier might even be a decent stream if you need it. But Giants, I don't think we're touching anybody. I know people have neighbors. Tyron Tracy could have a good game. You would assume that their game plan, especially if Tim Boyle does play, is going to be run first and run heavy, and just go from there. I think that they might force feed Neighbors a lot in this game, so we could get a decent amount of targets. But
we had 14 last week.
Yeah, like Shane said earlier, Tim Boyle just thrown one touchdown pass.
He threw one touchdown pass when he was at UConn.
Okay. I don't even know how many touchdown passes he's done in the league, but he's 0-11 in the league.
Yeah, he's 0-11 anytime he's ever dropped back in the NFL, which is hysterical.
Neighbors is a spot play if you need it.
And he did throw a touchdown to Malik Neighbors last week, Jason, so we can't slander the man too much. He has 5 touchdowns through 23 games of NFL play.
Yeah, I think Tracy and Neighbors are the only 2 guys on that team that have ever even touched.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Boyle has a this is real life. He has a career QBR of 32, Jason.
I was gonna guess like 50.
Yeah, below 50 is crazy. 32, that's impeccable. That's chef's kiss. That's the Giants season. Yeah. Whew. Anyways,
we can move on.
Yeah, Vikings Seahawks is the next game. Over under is 42.5. It opened at 45.5. But the Geno Smith injury has pushed this downward. So I will say, if Geno doesn't play, it's also supposed to be rainy in Seattle. Shocker. If Geno doesn't play, you have to reassess the assets that the Seahawks have, because Sam Howell's not that guy. He's not. I want him to be. I've been a huge Sam Howell fan. If you guys listen to our previous podcasts, like our Dynasty episodes, I pounded the table for Sam Howell. And he's just not that guy. And he could be Geno in the long run, but he's not Geno right now. And so you have to downgrade the Seahawks players pretty immensely.
JSN,
Yeah, I think JSN loses a lot. I will say I think that DK maybe gains if it's Sam Howell because he kind of has the chuck it and fuck it situation going on. That's kind of his mentality still. That's just what happens when you play for a broken organization in the NFL. You just develop these bad habits, and he's still portraying them. So I think DK could kind of get a boost. I think the JSN takes a downturn. I think Charbs. I think just basically you have to downgrade everybody except for maybe DK. For the Seahawks and the Vikings, you're playing everybody you can, and I think even you could. I think you could play Cam Akers in this game. I think that he's startable, like in a flex. And if you're that down pad, and you're thinking about starting Cam Akers, you could start him. Anything else, Jay? You got?
Agreed. You know you're firing up for the receivers for the Vikings.
Oh yeah, and it's really miserable because JSN's been amazing this year.
Yeah,
and it's sad to see at this point in the playoffs. You're like, dude, come on. These injuries are just piling up for everybody. The Patriots and Bills, Jason, is the 325 game. You're playing every Bills player you can, and you're hoping that they don't blow them out to the point where the Bills just start pinching people. That's the hope.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm even touching a Patriots player to start.
I would say Ramondre could be startable.
That
just because the Bills are. Yeah, the Bills are so bad against the edge rush, and that's kind of what I mean. They use him terribly in New England, but I think he could have it in at least a decent day. Yeah. So I think you could fire up Ramondre if you want to. Other than that, though, I don't want to try to parse through that puzzle and figure out who else I could play. The over-under is
maybe next year for the Patriots.
Maybe next year. Yeah. The over-under is 46.5, by the way. So yeah, you start the Bills, guys. I'm assuming Vegas is thinking the Bills are scoring 35 plus. They may be thinking the Bills are scoring all of these points. And yeah, that's it. The next game is a game I will be watching during this slate, and that is the 49ers and Dolphins. Neither of these teams is technically eliminated, Jason, which is crazy. Yeah, 6-8, 6-8. Wait, math. 6-9, 6. I can't do math. Anyways, they're both in the exact same situation. They basically have to hope and pray and win. So I think that this game could have some fireworks. I think that, the loss of Jalen Waddle makes it very interesting for the Dolphins. If he does not end up suiting up, I think that it becomes, similarly condensed. I think Malik Washington steps directly in and replaces him. So I think that's Tyreek, Jonnu, Malik, and then obviously you have A-Chain. And then the Niners, the same guys you are always going to play. If Garindo's healthy, you're playing Garindo, especially against this Miami Dolphins defense. And the Dolphins can't cover, so you should feel good about starting Shawan Jennings. And the Dolphins can put up points sometimes. So, it's just a huge question mark of will they this game, and will the Niners put up points this game? It's just,
yeah. It's a huge question mark in this game.
It is. We could get a 40-36 shootout. I could see that. That's a very, very relevant possibility. We could also get a 20-13 game.
Yeah, 27. Yeah, so I was about to say 2017, to where it's
there's a big realm of possibilities for this game. Hopefully it's on the latter.
What's that number?
44.5 is the over under. It opened at 49.
Yeah, that's why they're thinking. It's we don't know. That's
what
we don't know total.
It's supposed to be 71 degrees and 7-mile-an-hour winds in Miami, Jason. I want to be in Miami. That's what I want to feel like. The Jaguars and the Raiders.
Gross.
Yeah, I'm not trying to start anybody.
Brian Thomas?
Except for Brian Thomas Jr. Maybe Brenton Strange if I'm feeling strange.
And Brock Bowers, and that's it.
I don't even really want to start Brock Bowers, but yeah, you're starting him if you have him. God, Desmond Ridder was just abysmal. And Mac Jones looked competent, which is crazy to say out loud, but he looked competent. Desmond Ridder looked like he just got off the couch and had been watching Dak Prescott warm up.
Yeah, he's going against the worst defense this week, though, so it makes me a little bit hopeful.
Just a little hope. Just a little hope they could do something. Yeah, I got nothing. I don't want to play anybody if I can avoid it aside from, like the 3 we mentioned at the start. Yeah. Moving on. We have Sunday Night Football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry World. Jason. Total is 48.5. What do you got for me? Break it down. Tell me if I'm starting Jalen McMillan, because that's only the question I've seen on Twitter 40,000 times.
I think you fire everybody up for the Bucs. Honestly, it's the Cowboys don't play well at home. They're banged up on defense. I don't know if Diggs is going to be playing.
I believe Diggs is out.
Yeah, to where it's Deron Bland. I mean, and you would think that he would be on Mike Evans. So I'm firing everybody up on the Bucs. Baker's shown that he's going to sling the football around. I mean, Bucky Irvin's a little bit banged up. So Rashad White's probably going to be getting the majority of the touches, depending on Bucky's health. Cowboys don't look that good at home. That's plain and simple. I think the only one I'm starting on the Cowboys is CD.
Yeah, by the way, Trayvon Diggs had season-ending surgery, Jason.
Yeah.
So, he will not be available.
So it's Bland.
Yeah, so it's Deron Bland.
Yeah,
he's going to put some seasoning on and get cooked. He's not going to be Bland no more.
I think you might be able to even start Baker this week.
Yeah, I think you should have been. If you had Baker, you could have been starting him for a while here. The Bake Show is full on cooking. He's got some Cajun seasoning now. He's got some Cajun seasoning now that he's in Tampa. He's got that little spice, got that little kick. But yeah, I think that this is a game that you start the Buccaneers and you're starting CD, and that's about it. I don't really want to start anybody on the Cowboys, especially everybody that's not named CeeDee Lamb and like Rico Dowdle. Like, you can't project what their target share is going to be week to week. Like, sometimes it's Jalen Tolbert, sometimes it's the kick returner, Kevontae Turpin. Sometimes it's like,
I wish they utilized Turpin more in that offense.
He's an interesting piece, but he is definitely more of a gadget guy in my opinion. I don't understand why Jerry Jones as a GM is just infuriating. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You start the Bucs, and you probably try not to start the Cowboys.
But you gotta start CD. That's the only one.
Yeah, and I'm okay starting CD. The Buccaneers defense is not good in the secondary.
Yeah.
Right now. They're on their 4th string safety.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice to feel when you're like, hey, I'm going to start one of the best wide receivers in football. And then Monday Night Football, a marquee matchup. One would think. No, we're getting the Saints versus Packers. In Green Bay, the guys from the Deep South have to travel all the way up to the wintry cold of Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's going to be 31 degrees.
What is the 2 totals? I don't know if you mentioned the Bucs Cowboys total and what is this total?
Bucs Cowboys total is 48.5.
Okay, so maybe some points.
And the Saints Packers total is 42.5.
Okay. Yeah, that's about right. Going into the cold weather.
Yeah, especially because the Saints have no one left that's healthy.
Yeah, and I think we're staying away from Spencer, rather.
Yeah, the Rizzler is definitely not someone I want to play against the Packers defense in the cold. Yeah, man, This game had like playoff implications. Well, it still technically does, but like it had legit playoff implications if the Saints just don't have. What do they have? Like 18 guys on IR now.
Yeah, they're banged up.
Yeah, the Lions and the Saints just inverse flipped the side of the ball. Like the Lions have like 16 guys on the IR on defense. The Saints have like 16 guys on the IR on offense. It's just sad. Like you're just like, dude, this game could have been cool, but it doesn't look that way. For this one, I'm firing up all the Packers. If I have Josh Jacobs, I'm licking my lips. Kendre Miller,
receiver for Packers.
I would start Romeo Dobbs.
This week?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Dobbs. Reed's just not playing. He only plays in 11 personnel. They only put him on the field in 11 personnel. If it's not 11 personnel, it's Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah, the acquisition of Josh Jacobs really kind of hurt his fantasy value.
Yeah, they're not spreading it out near as much as they had been. Just because, they have Jacobs, they don't need to.
You starting Jordan Love?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think, honestly, there's not going to be a better option than him that's available for you. So I think you kind of got to. He's currently ranked as QB9 consensus ranking. Yeah, you don't love it, but you don't hate it. So,
what's Baker ranked right now?
Ooh, ECR. Baker is 6.
Okay. I was just curious between Baker and Jordan Love if you have the options, but I'm guessing you don't. But
no,
I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, if you're really searching for somebody to grab,
Ew.
I can't believe I'm going to say it.
Purdy?
Nope. Old Man Withers. Aaron Rodgers. He came out of the darkness to lead you through the fantasy football playoffs. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Imagine you make that move and it actually pays off.
He's been balling, man. He's been a top 12 QB for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I digress. Maybe spend some time with your family on Monday night.
Well, you probably have the day off too.
Yeah. Well, and preps for Christmas. Yeah, definitely lean that way. I think that basically, that wraps it up for us this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you all for hitting the like, subscribe, and the bell till it goes ding. And make sure that you go to fantasy6pack.net and use code Parlay FF for 15% off for a whole year. And we'll see you in the Discord. Other than that, go check out our podcast. It's on every single podcast app out there. Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast. I think that does it for me. Jason, you know what to do, my guy.
Yeah. Hey, good luck in fantasy playoffs this week. If you're in the playoffs, hey, go make some moves. See you guys.
May you win all of your matchups. And if you don't, may you have a really good time doing so. Bye.